Thought there'd be a busier offseason for the Milwaukee Brewers. It wasn't. See if there's any moves going to be made here in the next couple of weeks or during spring training. David Gasper from Athlon Sports joins us next here on Locked On Brewer.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And the moves we expected to be done early were done. Devin Williams and, of course, Willie Adames. When I say early, nothing happened, after January 1st. It's kind of been quiet for the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll talk more about that. Dave Gasper joining me here in a second. FanDuel brings you today's Locked On Brewers. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every day and every play more exciting with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers bet $5, and if you win, you get $200 in bonus bet in your accounts. It's great. Download the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. All right, Dave Gasper joining us right now. Athlon, your new home.
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool.
After 8 years reviewing the brew, and got an opportunity that Athlon, and really excited to join the team over there and get things going and provide another outlet, a new outlet for Brewers coverage, and hopefully fans, come over and flock to. I dropped the top list this morning, so just kind of continuing to push out the coverage, push out the content, and we're getting ready for the 2025 season.
Absolutely. I always say more Brewers content, the better, man. The more people can access the Brewers community, all the better. I said this at the tease when I had you on the other screen. I Dave, it's been a quiet off season other than Williams and other than Willie Adames signing with the Giants. Do you expect a little bit more in this offseason from the Brewers? We knew they weren't going to go on a spending spree, but still, they haven't done anything really.
Yeah, no, I'm not necessarily surprised at the way that this offseason has gone. I mean, just kind of remembering back to the end of season press conference from Matt Arnold, and he was talking about how he feels, this roster, this team is in a really good spot. And frankly, I would agree. I think they've got a really strong core here. That there wasn't that much for them to do. I mean, they did lose Willie Adames. Yes, that is a big piece in the middle of your lineup. And you do kind of need some help there on the left side of the infield with him gone. But I think you got a very immediate, easy solution there at shortstop with Joey Ortiz, or you could even do Bryce Terang if you wanted to, but most likely probably Ortiz. You got to get someone else to handle that third base spot, that infield spot on the left side. And they got that with Devin Williams. You knew the Devin Williams trade was something that they needed to do. It was on their to-do list. They did it. They got Caleb Durbin to help out in the infield. And what was their other need? Some rotation depth. They got that with Nestor Cortez in that Williams trade. So they killed, 2-3 birds with one stone with that move. And, frankly, just looking at this offseason, I didn't think there was that much for them to do. Just looking at their lineup, looking at the group that they have, there's not really too many obvious holes that they need to upgrade on their roster. I would have liked to have seen a veteran infielder addition, like a Hassan Kim or maybe even a Yohan Moncada. But with those guys off the board now, there's really not much left out there. And the Brewers may just roll with the kids. And they've got a couple of other really young third basemen coming up that they don't want to block. And I think they want to give opportunities to these young kids. They don't want to bring in a ton of veterans and block them from getting the at-bats they need to flourish. And I think that's the strategy we're seeing them roll with. And I'm not surprised by it in the least.
I thought they'd go the Moncada route. I really did. The third base. And I know he had that contract with the White Sox that didn't work out. You could have got him cheap. I thought maybe Milwaukee would be a place for him to kind of rejuvenate things.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it would have been a nice option. Yes, he's injury prone as well, but I mean, even if he does have some injuries and he's only able to play a little bit, you can get some coverage there. Just in case some of those other guys aren't ready quite yet. With Oliver Dunn and Caleb Durbin and Tyler Black that you got over there. So I would have liked to have seen Moncada. I'm not going to disagree with any of that. But I think you look for him as the opportunity in Los Angeles, getting $5 million offered to him there, which is probably more than the Brewers were going to be willing to pay a part-time infielder in a one-year deal. He's also got a better path to playing time over there in Los Angeles because we know Anthony Rendon is not going to be playing at all. So he's just going to stay on the IL and collect his paycheck. So there's opportunity over there at third base in LA.
I just thought they'd go some route, whether it be Moncada or and they still might, but I just thought maybe they dangle Savali out there and maybe a little package deal to try to bring somebody home. Even earlier when they had Devin Williams as a piece, I thought maybe they'd trade for a third baseman. I feel like,
well, I mean, you sort of did with Durbin, like he's not a proven asset there. And like they had their pick of the litter with the Devin Williams trade. I mean, there were what, 10 teams that were interested, and they're looking around and like, okay, we're going to take this one with the rotation depth with Cortez, and you get the young controllable infielder with Durbin. And like there are some holes in his profile, I guess, but also he's a very Pat Murphy kind of player,
Yeah, I'd like to see a proven veteran, and I know like Bregman was a shot in the air for me.
Unless Bregman's willing to accept a 1-year deal, I don't see that happening.
God, I hate when we're in that position, or we just can't even bid for some of these guys.
It's like, I mean, it'd be a perfect fit. It's like, okay, the hole's at third base. Go get Alex Bregman. I mean, that's a way to replace the loss of Willy Adames and upgrade your team. But, if Bregman's going to, sign for a 6-year deal or 7-year deal, whatever it is he's still looking for as we're sitting here in February, the Brewers aren't going to be willing to do that, especially when you have guys like Brock Wilken, Mike Bovee, Eric Patanti, all right down there in the farm system coming up. That they want to give opportunities to. And unless Bregman's willing to take a 1-year deal, similar to Hoskins. Hoskins normally would not have been a Brewers type of guy, but with him coming off an injury, looking for a short-term deal, much easier for them to make that kind of commitment and bring him in to help address the position that they need.
I wonder if the Brewers, Dave, like worry about it as much as I do, that third base spot. Now, last year worked out a little bit with Ortiz, but it's like the last 2 off seasons, it's been kind of a hole over at third base.
But Ortiz, they didn't even get until beginning of February.
Yeah, and they didn't. They thought he was going to play third base until he even started third base opening day.
Yeah, I mean, Sal Frelick was going to be there up until Gary Mitchell broke his finger. Yeah. And, maybe we see Sal Frelick there again. Maybe we see some more opportunities for him in spring training at that position. I'm not sure if that's going to be a regular thing during the regular season. But if Durbin can't emerge, if Tyler Black can't play the position, if Oliver Dunn can't emerge, then they may be forced to put Sal Frelick over there just to get a decent glove and a big league bat that they know of in that spot. And that way it also helps clear the outfield a little bit.
Well, we know Woody and Yelly are not 100% going into camp. We'll ask Dave what he thinks about that. Coming up next. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good to have you on here on Locked On Brewers. Man, a couple of days. Spring training. I think the Cubs and Dodgers are opening theirs up this weekend. Very, very cool. Hey, the closer we can get the spring training and closer we can get the summer and baseball going back in our ballparks. Gametime. The Gametime app. Well, we're a ways away from baseball season, but basketball tickets, college basketball, concerts, movies, not movies. I want to say comedy shows. That's what I want to say. You can get them all on Gametime. Concerts. Got a concert tickets last week in there off Gametime. Gametime's got a new feature called the Gametime Picks. Makes it getting tickets for events even easier. Filters out the fluff, shows you incredible deals on great seats, and you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Well, I do that, though. I just search around, find myself. I play the waiting game and all. It's all part of the little bit game you play on these on Gametime, so it's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. I wait for like the final hour sometimes for an event, and those prices on Gametime, man, those things are dropping. I recently used Gametime Picks to find tickets for an upcoming an upcoming Bucks game, and it worked out great for me. Super deals all the time. But here's what you got to do. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and if you use that promo code LOCKEDONMLB, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your purchase. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed with Gametime. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. David Gasper, our guest from Athlon, covers the Brewers like a glove on a hand.
On a very big hand, yeah.
Very big hand. Guy who's 6'10". He's not 6'10", but
close enough, though.
Close enough. Tallest guy in the press box, let's put it that way. What'd you think when Murph said the other day, Christian Yelich? Let's go to Christian Yelich. Not going to be 100%, first of all, going into camp. He had the back surgery in August.
Yeah, I'm not entirely surprised, and I think Yelich, I think he made the right call having the surgery earlier rather than trying to wait until after the season, because then it would have been a little bit longer, perhaps, to see him get back. Just because, I mean, a back surgery, it's so tough to kind of see how the recovery is going to go, and I think the Brewers are going to be playing it cautiously with him as well. They're going to very slowly ramp him up. I don't think opening day is necessarily in jeopardy quite yet for Yelly, but they're definitely going to play it cautiously with him, as they should. He's their big money guy. He's over the age of 30, coming off a back surgery. He's had chronic back issues past couple of years. You hope that this solves them, but the last thing they want to do is rush him back in too quickly and then undo whatever progress may have been done by that surgery and end up dealing with more problems down the line here. So a slow ramp up definitely makes sense that they're not pushing him to 100% just yet.
No, and if you get the spring training and he's not ready to go yet, that's going to push into the season. He might not be ready for the first month. Who knows? I just think if we can get him by May, and I'm not saying there's no facts to back that up, but I'm just saying let him rehab, take him slowly. If we got him by May, it's all good.
Yeah, keeping him healthy is really the important part, so that he doesn't have these continual flare-ups where he's gone for 3 weeks, a month, whatever it is throughout the season. That's the important part. And even if you have to take maybe a little bit off the front of the season, being able to have him down the stretch is going to be crucial for the Brewers, getting that kind of bat back. I haven't seen anything to say that opening day is necessarily in jeopardy yet for Christian Yelich, but we'll see as spring training rolls on just how long that wait might have to be.
Woodruff, on the other hand, again, he's battling back from that surgery that he had a little earlier in the year last year. Not 100% as well, according to Pat Murphy, but he says that if all things healthy, Woody's going to be one of those starting five. But what'd you think of the news that he's not 100% just yet?
Yeah, I'm not entirely surprised by that either. I mean, we've seen Adam McCalvy, put out the article on Woodruff a couple of weeks ago about how he's throwing bullpens down in Mississippi. Then he goes to spring training to kind of get his first readings on how his pitches are looking, and perhaps the readings weren't as great as they were hoping for initially. But playing it very cautiously with Woodruff is going to be so important, and it's exactly what the Brewers should be doing. It was a major surgery deep in his shoulder that he had to undergo in 2023 that cost him that postseason and all of last year. So, having that kind of shoulder surgeries are not easy to recover from. We saw this with Aaron Ashby a year ago as well, where it took him a while to really kind of get back and bounce back into form. And it took him until late in the year to really kind of find his stuff once again. So I'm not surprised at all that it's going to be a little bit delayed. 2025 start of the season was just kind of a blanket, optimistic. Oh yeah, around then he should be, good to go to be on a mound. But is he good enough to be, pitching in big league games, going out there throwing 100 pitches, throwing 6 innings, whatever it is, every 5 days? Not just yet. Yeah. So they're going to have to take it cautiously with him as well, because that shoulder, it's very tricky. Jimmy Nelson also went through a similar kind of surgery where it was deep in his shoulder, and he had setback after setback, and Nelson never really got back to his old form.
Yeah. I just saw a Jimmy Nelson bobblehead available online the other day.
Oh, there we go. I love Jimmy, man. He was my guy. Like prior to that injury, I mean, he was finally turning into that ace that we always kind of thought he could be.
Yep.
And then diving back into first base. This is why when people tell me, oh, we need to have pitchers hitting again, I'm like, no, I don't want that. No, thank you. I'm tired of my pitchers getting hurt running the bases or hitting or doing anything like that. No, thank you. Woodruff hitting a home run off Kershaw was great. Bartolo Colon hitting a home run was the peak of pitchers hitting. After that, we don't need any more. No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And also, the starting rotation right now, according to Murphy, and he was telling this, he told the news about Yelly and Brandon Woodruff to the Journal Sentinel Online. He also told this to them. Peralta, Myers, Savale, and Cortez look like a pretty good certain for starting five. And he put Brandon Woodruff in there too as his fifth guy. So where does that leave DL Hall and Ashby?
Yeah, I mean, those are going to be the guys battling for those final spots. And I think, as we just kind of mentioned with Woodruff, he's probably not going to start the year healthy. And they're going to play cautiously with him. So that's going to leave an opportunity for Ashby or Hall to earn one of those spots. So, I mean, that's where spring training is going to come in, and these guys are going to have to battle and try and earn those positions. And also, as we've seen in spring training, injuries can happen, and that can open up some other opportunities ahead of them as well. Hopefully it doesn't, knock on wood. Mm-hmm. But, those guys, they're a little bit on the outside looking in. There are going to be some depth pieces for this rotation when everything's healthy. But that doesn't mean that they can't be on the big league roster starting the season. Someone's going to be there as the long man out of the bullpen at the very least. And, those opportunities can present themselves early. That, they can take a while to present themselves, but they're going to be there, and you've got to earn them and take them. That's what Tobias Myers did last year. I mean, he was coming in. No one was thinking about him as a rotation piece. And 6 weeks into the season, it's like this team can't survive without him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, Peralta, Myers, Savale, and Cortez, it's not going to make you forget about Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavin, but still, I like that four guys right there.
Yeah, I like that group. You got veterans in there. You got a sophomore in Tobias Myers, but you've got Savale and Cortez that know how to pitch. You got Freddie Peralta as your top guy who's been around with this team for a long time. And he can be your top of the rotation guy. And it's a really solid, mix of veterans, with some young talents in there as well. And when you get Woodruff back, that only brings up the potential upside there. So it's a really solid group. It's not the big name group really when they had, in 2021 with Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta as 1, 2, 3, just lighting it up. With sub-3 ERAs every single time they go out there. But I think the Brewers have also shown they know how to develop pitching. They know how to get the most out of their pitching. And, these guys, you put the ball on the ground and you've got an excellent defense in the infield behind you, excellent defense in the outfield as well. And that's going to help these guys' numbers play up. And these guys are going to end up pitching well as long as they keep it in the ballpark and it's catchable. And, you don't need to jump 20 feet over the fence in order to get it. This defense is going to give this pitching staff a really good chance.
Are the Cubs now the team to beat the NL Central? They're drawing all the highlights. We'll get to David, his reaction on that. And plus, he's got his top 50 prospects. So we'll get his top 5 coming up here. We come out of this break. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Locked On Brewers, and we are brought to you by PrizePicks as well. PrizePicks, the big game is almost here. No better way to make it even more exciting than with PrizePicks, the best place to play daily fantasy sports. Over 10 million members, billions and billions awarded each day. PrizePicks makes it fun, simple to get in all the action. Here's how it works. You pick more or less of at least 2 players' projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. PrizePicks even has a free pick for the big game, where Mahomes only needs to throw 1 yard to win. Can't beat that. Pair that with one more correct pick, and you can be cashing out. So download the app today. Use the promo code Locked On MLB, $50 off instantly. You'll get with PrizePicks. So download the app, PrizePicks. Use the promo code Locked On MLB. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Locked On MLB, $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. And of course, with the game coming up on Sunday, there's no better way to join in all the fun, make the game more exciting, talk less with those relatives, those friends you don't want to have over in the first place by concentrating on the game even more through PrizePicks. Chuck Freeman here, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good to have you along here on Locked On Brewers. By the way, you get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast. Excuse me. We are there. All of the various audio platforms out there. We're on all of them because we're the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet. You like our audio version? Please go to our YouTube page. YouTube, search Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That alerts you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. We also got great guests like David Gasper from Athlon joining us right now. Before I get your prospects list, tell me what you think of the Cubs making these moves here in the offseason and making things a little interesting here in the NL Central. Not that they weren't, but they feel like there's an opening here to catch the Brewers.
Yeah, and they're maybe using their money a little bit finally to try and close that gap, because it's very clear that there was still a gap between the Brewers and Cubs last year, going out and getting Kyle Tucker and making some of these other moves here. But honestly, I'll believe it when I see it. They're probably going to do all these moves just to finish up with 84 wins and still be 7-8 games behind the Brewers in the NL Central, because they can't beat the power of friendship. Because that's what the Brewers have. That's what they're thriving on. They've got some gusto and the power of friendship, and they're somehow just going to pitch and hit their way to 90-some wins and probably another NL Central title. Even though they're not making the big moves with Kyle Tucker, whatever else, they're still going to end up just playing so well that the Cubs are going to have a hard time keeping pace.
The power of friendship. I haven't quite ever heard that before, but that's what.
Yeah, that's what the Brewers are thriving on, man. They got vibes, they got the energy, they got Pat Murphy running the way. They're following the leader, and it's working for them. And they don't have the power of billions of dollars like the Dodgers or Cubs or Yankees or Mets or any of those guys. But they keep winning, they keep thriving. Sixth most wins in Major League Baseball since like 2017.
Apparently, our commissioner doesn't think, Rob Manfred doesn't think there's a problem with this, that we don't need a salary cap. Just reading between the lines on that, he's like, oh, really? Some fans are excited that that some of the small markets aren't getting their way. Come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The Brewers, for everyone that's trying to be like, oh, Mark Utnauser needs to spend more like this and do this, and why can't we be more like the Dodgers and things like that? It's like, the Dodgers get $230 million a year from just their TV media rights deal. The Brewers get like 30 if they're lucky. And with the whole new thing with Diamond Sports, it's like, who knows if they're even getting that now. So the Brewers are $200 million behind the 8 ball with the Dodgers before they even get started. How are you going to catch that? You can't.
You can't. No, you absolutely can't. You got your top 50 prospects list out in the Brewers organization. Now, I'm not going to have you run through all 50. Plus, you got to give somebody an incentive. I don't want you to give the keys to the kingdom right here, but give me your top 5, Dave.
Top 5. All right. Do you want to go 5-1 or 1-5?
Give us the 5-1.
5-1.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So 5-1. We're going to start with the guy that we've seen in Milwaukee a little bit this past year. Tyler Black comes in at number 5. I mean, there's really nothing left for him to prove in AAA. He now kind of moves to that backup first base job behind Rhys Hoskins. So we should see him a little bit more this year. Should get some more at bats, and hopefully he can prove himself to be that first baseman of the future in Milwaukee, because the offensive potential is certainly there for him. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Jefferson Caro. He drops down a little bit. He missed all of last year with shoulder surgery, except for one plate appearance. He drew a walk and then what do you know? Just like Jimmy Nelson, dove back into first base and tore up his shoulder and had to have shoulder surgery. So we'll see if his throwing arm is still the same. But the offensive potential is great. Defensively, he can be a starting catcher, and he could be an all-star catcher really with that offensive and defensive combination behind the plate. But after missing a year due to injury, he ends up at number 4. Number 3, I got Jacob Misiorowski. I mean, what's not to say? I mean, 6'7" and throws 100 miles an hour. Did absolutely fantastic last year out of the rotation, and then when he moved to the bullpen. Ultimately, I think he's a bullpen arm. I think that's his best path to the majors. The control, I don't think, is there enough to be a starter. But Misiorowski, we should see him at some point here in 2025.
Sure.
Coming in at number 2 is Cooper Pratt, co-minor league player of the year last year, Gold Glove winner at shortstop in the minor leagues, the steal of the 2023 draft. Just dominated low A. He ended up making it up to Double A by the end of the year for their playoff run. So Cooper Pratt, I mean, he's really been a big riser. And then coming in at number 1, speaking of big risers, Jesus Made. I am hopping on the Jesus Made hype train, putting him number 1. He may be 17 and has only played in the DSL. But I mean, the tool set here is ridiculous. He's even, I've seen some even say, he's like Jackson Chourio at this age, but with better batted ball data. Like he's somewhat better than Jackson Chourio at this age. The 5-tool upside with Jesus Made. Plus, it's an 80 grade name. Just absolutely perfect name, Jesus Made. And it's just a really exciting profile. And we're probably going to see him in Carolina this year.
And you put the accent on the right syllable when you pronounced it. So you get an A.
Yeah, there we go. But got to learn these things. Got to learn these things.
You got it down already.
Yes. Jesus Made. Yeah.
Yes, I love it. David, you get him at on Twitter at Gasper, GASPER 24. He's got 24 on the end of it because he's a big Darryl Hamilton fan back in the day.
Yeah, and Jesus Aguilar, big Jesus Aguilar guy.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, appreciate you coming on as always, man. And of course, I love covering games with you as well. And find your stuff on Athlon. Hopefully, all our listeners will get on board with that, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Chuck. Always happy to come on.
David Gasper from Athlon covers the Milwaukee Brewers. This is Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen to every day. For your second listen, go to Locked On MLB. My guy Sully got all the news there. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.